The US president is driven by one goal: to make America great again. And taking over the Red Sea is part of this plan. Let's connect the dots. Remember when Europe was hesitant in opposing Russia when it went to war with Ukraine? Because over 40% of EU's natural gas imports came from Russia, and opposing Russia would cost Europe a huge chunk of its economy. This is precisely how trade influences alliances and partnerships. But trade is also a means of modern warfare. It can strangle economies, collapse currencies, and rewrite alliances without firing a single missile. Trade is the ultimate weapon of the 21st century. Look at how South Africa capitulated under foreign sanctions to dismantle its racist regime, or how Iran's economy is shattered under the trade embargo as a punishment for pursuing nuclear energy. So trade is a powerful weapon to forge alliances and bankrupt your enemies, and this is what the current US foreign policy revolves around. But the world today is increasingly relying on Chinese goods. China is the biggest exporter in the world since 2009, with its export volume increasing every year. If this trend continues, foreign sanctions will be a weapon in China's hands alone, out of the reach of the US. Therefore, the US is taking up aggressive measures to increase its trade power, which also requires tackling the Chinese trade dominance on every front. In fact, at this point, if any major Chinese trade partner shifts to domestic manufacturing and simultaneously increases their exports, Chinese trade will inevitably be affected. Just as Britain's industrial monopoly waned when competitors started making their own goods, this is why the US is focusing on trade dominance. It includes imposing equal tariffs and boosting manufacturing in the country. But the most important step by the US has gone unnoticed, and that is taking control over the Red Sea as a part of its plan to monopolize the global shipping routes. Controlling maritime trade routes will give the US a massive strategic advantage in global trading. Here are the three main steps the US has taken to dominate the global shipping routes, and why controlling the Red Sea is a major step in this plan. First,
my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal. Panama Canal is a disgrace.
Donald Trump has repeatedly stated he wants the Panama Canal back, which connects the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. About 40% of US container shipping currently passes through the Panama Canal, making the US its major benefactor. The second is taking over Greenland.
We need Greenland. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't.
Donald Trump is not stepping back from buying Greenland. He has said we're getting it one way or the other, and trade dominance is the center of this objective. You see, climate change has led to melting of thick ice sheets and exposed a new shipping route through the Arctic called the Northern Sea Route, or the NSR. It is shorter and faster than traditional shipping routes. Using the NSR enables shippers in Russia and other countries to avoid a much lengthier southern journey around Europe, the Middle East, and all of Southern Asia, saving millions of dollars. And Trump wants to call dibs on it before China gets a foothold in the Northern American Arctic.
Those areas are opening up, and they're opening up, and they're headed right into China, right into Russia, and we have no choice.
He doesn't want a significant presence in the area. He wants full control of it, and that brings us to another step the US has taken to cement its trade dominance. That is laying siege to the Red Sea. The Red Sea lies between Africa and Asia and connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Arabian Sea, with Suez Canal on one end and Bab el-Mandeb Strait on the other. It is one of the most important trading routes of the world, accounting for around 15% of global maritime trade and 33% of global container traffic, valued at $700 billion each year. Although countries have competed for decades to develop military ports around the Red Sea, a race in which Djibouti has emerged as a key player, hosting military bases from around 11 countries. But the US has a plan to jump ahead all of them by leaps and bounds if it gets control over the Red Sea. And the recent attacks on Yemen have brought the US closer to achieving this goal. As you know, the Yemenite Houthis were striking what they claim were shipments to Israel alone to deter Israel's attacks on Gaza. In response, the US and its allies had launched several attacks on the Houthis, leading them to halt their naval attacks. This pause coincided with the ceasefire in Gaza. But when Israel started blocking food and aid to Gaza, the Houthis warned of resuming naval attacks if Israel did not lift the blockade. And here is where things get suspicious. This time, the US government was quick to attack the Houthis on a mere verbal threat. On 16 March 2025, the US carried out calculated intervention in Yemen by targeted airstrikes, killing 53 people on the pretext of securing this trade route. And 2 days later, Israel launched surprise airstrikes on Gaza, breaking the ceasefire with Hamas. So if the US and its allies had struck the Houthis more than 260 times in the past year alone, mainly aiming at their infrastructure and ammunition sites to avoid any regional escalation, why was Donald Trump a bit too quick to dismiss escalation concerns and ordered airstrikes when there were no new attacks from the Houthis on Israel or any global shipment? And the US admits it.
This is not a one-off. This is an effort to deny them the ability to continue to constrict and control shipping.
This wave of unprovoked attacks that cost human life, combined with Israel's aggression despite the ceasefire, aligns with Donald Trump's ambition to dominate the Red Sea and other global shipping routes, especially because escalation is now inevitable. The Houthis have vowed retaliation, and when they do, it would further deepen the US's cause to invade Yemen and take permanent hold of this trade route under the banner of regional stability. The importance of this checkpoint cannot be overstated. Europe alone receives 60% of its energy needs through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and 60% of Chinese goods to Europe pass through the Suez Canal. Taking control of the Red Sea, even without the Panama Canal or Greenland, would tilt the balance of power in the US' favor by giving it direct control over the Eurasian trade flows. So now you know why taking over the Red Sea is an important step for the US trade dominance. But that raises an obvious question. Were the Yemen strikes truly about safeguarding trade, or are they a step towards seizing the ultimate leverage for the US economic supremacy? What's your take? A legitimate security operation, or a calculated power grab? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to follow our page for more deep dives into the real reasons behind the ongoing global conflicts.